All right, already, I think we are good to go. Woo! Hey, what is going on, guys? Glad you can make it, because in today's episode, we are talking about something a little bit different than what we normally talk about. Usually in this game, we always talk about the best characters to farm, the best characters in the game in general, but sometimes it's nice to step back, look at the game overall, and see what needs some work in. So how this is going to work, guys, is we are going to first of all go over my top 5 characters that desperately need a rework, and as an added bonus, I'm also going to go over 3 factions that I also believe need a rework in this game. So we're going to see if we're on the same page in terms of who should be reworked in this game. But let's get into it, talk about my top 5, and we'll check out your guys's. So number 5. Now, I just did a review on this guy this past weekend, and because of this guy, it kind of inspired me to make this video today. And number 5 is going to be Old Ben. Now, if you saw my in-depth review, he's not a bad character. He's an okay character. I ranked him as a knight in that video, and he's only missing a couple of things that can really make him great in this game. The main problem with Old Ben is the fact that his unique rarely ever gets used. The AI rarely ever targets Old Ben first, and the other problem is when we're facing Old Ben, most of the time we save him for dead last because you don't want him giving all those random buffs to all of his allies. And just some minor changes would make him probably one of the top end tanks in the game. One of the first solutions to this is to give him maybe some sort of taunting ability, so that way he is directing more line of fire towards him, which means naturally over time he is finally going to be defeated. Or on my previous video, someone left a really cool idea that I think would really work. Perhaps don't let Old Ben taunt, but instead have him mitigate the damage that his allies receive, and instead take part of that mitigated damage towards Old Ben. So for example, enemy attacks your ally is getting the butt whooping of a lifetime. What Old Ben could do is perhaps take 50% of that damage that ally was supposed to receive and put it on himself. So he becomes a passive taunter in a way, a passive tank that is reducing the damage of his allies and taking it upon himself, which kind of does fit his role in the Star Wars universe when he was facing Darth Vader, so Luke and the others could escape from him. But let's go on to number 4, and this poor guy has been crying for a long time, and that is Clone Wars Chewbacca. The good tanks nowadays, they can taunt automatically, they can also grant critical damage immunity, they can grant free shish kebabs, I don't know, they just do a lot of great stuff. Number 1 solution in my book for Clone Wars Chewbacca is knock out the Clone Wars part and just leave it as Chewbacca and have him work across many sort of factions, kind of like R2-D2. Solution number 2 would be to give Chewbacca some sort of specific synergy in the game. One cool idea that I think would be nice is if Han Solo is on the field and Chewbacca's on the field, anytime you try to attack Han Solo, the damage automatically goes to Chewbacca because Chewbacca's always there watching Han Solo's back. Number 3. One of my favorite bounty hunters, and that is Cad Bane. He has a lot of interesting things that sound cool in theory, but in application, he is missing quite a lot. He's slow, he's pretty frail, his damage output is not nearly as good as some other characters in the game, but if they did do a rework on this character, I would like to see them try to make Cad Bane the Darth Maul, but for the bounty hunters. Carry over that anti-Jedi synergy that he has, but bring it up a couple levels, because right now, the only thing he really has is that one stun ability, and that is not too much when facing up against a Jedi team. Now, number 2 for my list, this is a character that has been picked up several times for a rework. They pick him up, they try to do something, it's not that good, he gets put away again, and that is Mace Windu. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I first started playing this game and I saw Mace Windu being a character that was farmable, I was like, I have to farm this character. It's Mace Windu, he's gotta be good. The fact is, he's not that good in the game, but they're trying to make him into a quasi-tank, and what I mean by a quasi-tank is that he's not your typical tank that taunts. He's a tank that if you leave him unchecked, he's supposed to kind of tear apart your team. And then they're trying to do this through his unique known as Shatterpoint. Number 1, it gets applied randomly. So if there's a tank taunting and someone got exposed over on the other side of the field, you can't get to the character you just exposed, which is essentially a waste of a unique. But what I'm thinking is kind of make him like a Darth Vader type of character. When he applies expose at random, the expose never goes away. It constantly stacks. So you can technically apply multiple exposes to a character, and the only way to stop that is by taking out Mace Windu first. And number 1 on my list, holy moly, Master Choli. I am surprised this character has not had an ounce of usability in this game, and I'm surprised he went on this long before ever getting some sort of rework, and that is General Grievous. He has a unique that is a huge detriment to your team. The health down does absolutely nothing, especially when characters can cleanse it 2 seconds later. One thing they could do to make the unique less of a detriment is have IG 100 always taunt for General Grievous. So if IG 100 and General Grievous are on the field, IG 100 is always taunting for General Grievous, kind of covering for him because they are essentially the bodyguards for General Grievous. Overall, General Grievous is one of the toughest characters to get, one of the toughest to gear up, and you would think a character of his stature would be a lot more useful, especially considering how difficult he was to acquire in this game. So that's my top 5 list for characters that need a rework. In one way or another, I think a lot of these characters could be great in the game with a little bit of loving, little bit of tweaking, or a complete overhaul like General Grievous. I can see some magical things happen, and I think these are a lot of fan favorite characters, as we will see later on. But before we do that, let's take a look at my top 3 factions that I believe need a rework. Number 1 is the Bounty Hunter. Dengar is another character a lot would like to see changed. Maybe add a new character such as Bosk, and as I mentioned earlier, Cad Bane is a character that would be a really great candidate for a rework. So Bounty Hunters are number 1 on my list, and we'll check later on to see what you guys think. But number 2, which I'm surprised went this long without any touches, are the Separatists. The Separatists are kind of scattered out there. You got Count Dooku, who's a great character, but it's only because of the Sith that makes him great, and himself in general that makes him great. Nothing in regards to Separatist. B2, another great character, but not because he's a Separatist, but because he's doing his own thing, tearing apart all the buffs on the field. For me personally, sometime in the future, I would love to see a Clone Wars meta in Arena. Clones versus Separatists, or Republic versus Separatists. That would be a really cool meta in my opinion. But before we get there, we need to see the Separatists get a rework, and perhaps clones can get some love here and there because they're great for the AAT raid, but they're not great in Arena nowadays. The clones are not on my list, but for number 3, we have the droids. The droids at one point in this game were the free-to-play player's dream. The best bang for your buck in the game, easy to acquire, not too bad to gear. It's only when Zetas got into the game and a lot of anti-critical damage got into the game that we started to see droids lose a lot of their viability, and now their faction is not so great except for the AAT raid. They're probably a second tier team for the AAT raid. But those are the top 3 factions I think that need a rework. So what we're gonna do now, let's stop listening to me talk about my opinion. Let's check out the survey you guys filled out, and we'll see if we're both on the same page here. So let's go and check this baby out. Now, I didn't look at your responses before this video, so this is the first time I'm going to be checking it out. I'll make a graphic towards the end so you can kind of see a picture of what your guys' top 5 characters and top 3 factions are. But looking at this, we got a decent turnout, almost 660 responses here for 3 days, which isn't bad at all. So let's take a look at this puppy and see what you guys are talking about. And I see we got a slacker here. Someone decided to skip a question. I will find you. And I will kill you. We have 288 votes out of the 660 that voted Han Solo raid reward needs a rework, and I can definitely see that being someone, and if I made a top 10 list, he would definitely be in my list. His main purpose was back then to counter Jawa Engineer and Stormtrooper Han because they gave a ton of turn meter, and a lot of people loaded those 2 characters up with speed. But as I said, once Stormtrooper and Baze came into the game, he lost a lot of viability. So maybe what we can do is have him have some sort of ability where he ignores taunts, kind of like Boba Fett. Even if there's a shore trooper on the other team, he can pick anyone else to stun. And I said Old Ben was in my top 5 list, and you guys gave it 175 votes. So 26% of you guys kind of agree with me there that he needs a rework. I'm not sure if that's going to be in your top 5. I'll find out towards the end. And then Mace Windu is probably going to be in your guys' top 5 list. 311 votes, or 47% of the survey takers put in their top 5 Mace Windu as a candidate that needs a lot of work in. I'm kind of surprised about Plo Koon. I hear a lot of people talk about Plo Koon. If I made this list a top 10 list, I would think he'd get more votes. And holy cow, look at this. Oh, 429 votes for General Grievous. 65% of you who took this survey tossed in General Grievous in your top 5 list. And to keep in mind, I only allowed people to select 5 characters. They couldn't select more than 5. So that is saying a lot if people are sacrificing one of their slots for General Grievous. Cad Bane, also very popular. 31% of you, 206 votes, agree that Cad Bane needs a rework. So that's a character that's probably going to make it in your top 5 list as well. We're kind of on the same page for Clone Wars Chewbacca, 223 votes. About 34% of you guys also agreed. Then we got those poor souls who think Coruscant Underworld Police needs a rework. 28 of you guys. Farm Boy Luke Skywalker, interesting. Almost 20% of you guys added him to your top 5 list. Maybe because we're starting to see Luke Skywalker be used a lot more for these flash events. And then for we got 38 votes. Let's see, top 3 factions here, and bounty hunters looks like it might be number 1. We got the Separatists, and we also have the bounty. Yeah, it looks like Separatists are your number 1 choice. 321 votes. One for the Separatists for a rework. Bounty Hunters, number 2 at 279. A lot of cool characters, but really no viability in many aspects of the game. Clone Troopers got 15% of the vote. Droids are my number 3 in my list. It looks like you guys also gave it a lot of votes, but I'm not sure if it's in your top 3. I'm gonna count the votes up in a second here. Ewoks. People want to see the little critters become great in this game. They're pretty good for the AAT rate and the Rancor rate. Some are not, but they're not great at all for the arenas. Now we got the Jedi. 248 of you guys voted for the Jedi in your top 3 list. Then we got the Night Sisters. 215 votes for the Night Sisters. That is something I hear so often in the game. Now the Phoenix characters. I know where you guys are going with this one. You're forced to get them for the Thrawn event, where you have to all get them the 7 stars at some point if you want a 7-star Thrawn. And then we got 5 people who decided that the Rebels need a rework.
I will find you. I will kill you.
But there you have it, guys. This was a fun video. I'm glad we got to talk about this, have some sort of collaboration between you and me, because I love talking with you guys. And hopefully the developers do see this video. One reason why I made this video is because I know the developers watch these videos frequently from all of us who make YouTube videos, and I'm hoping this provides some sort of feedback for them from all of us regarding who should get reworked, because as I said, new characters are nice, but I get the most excitement when I see a really great character that should be great get a rework of some sort. Now down below in the video description, I will leave a link to the survey results, so if you want to use them for a video topic, a live stream, or forum post, whatever you'd like, feel free to use this data. And also down below in the description, I will leave a link to the survey. If you'd like to submit your own vote in case you didn't before this video, feel free to do so. I'll leave the survey open for the next month. And in case the developers see the survey, they'll continue to see all of our votes go towards these characters. So thank you so much for submitting the votes, and hopefully this does resonate with some people out there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I might make this a routine thing where every couple months we'll kind of look at the game overall and see what needs to be reworked. But until then, guys, make sure you like, comment down below, and subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And we will talk again very soon. Peace out!